Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the third day of this IPS certified course with Servier. I congratulate you for attending and for being with us last 2 days. I hope it has been interesting and educational journey for you. And today again, we bring you two more interesting lectures. Before I start with the lectures, I would like to talk a little bit more about Indian Pharmaceutical Association to let you know what we guys have been doing. So we will be talking about this organization, this association, which was formed in 1939. So we are very old association, the oldest pharmaceutical association in India. It is the oldest premier association. It is spread across all over India, and we operate through state branches and local branches. So we have 20 state branches and 46 local branches. We have divisions through which we work: IP Education Division, Industrial Pharmacy Division, Community Pharmacy Division, which I had, then Hospital Pharmacy Division, Regulatory Division, and of course our IPS Students Forum, which is very, very active. We work with different organizations like WHO, Indian FIP, that is International Pharmaceutical Federation, Asian Federation. We work with different government bodies as well as Pharmacy Council and pharma industry. If you visit our website, ipapharma.org, you will get a lot more information about us, what we have been doing. But one thing I just want to draw your attention to is on the homepage, you will find this advocacy corner. We all, of course, have many other icons. You will get a lot of more information. But advocacy corner is the one where IPA's letters written to the government on different pharmacy issues. We have put all of it year-wise, and it will be very interesting for you to see all these letters, like letters regarding, like latest letter which we sent to government was regarding give us the insurance coverage for the COVID. The pharmacists have been the frontline health, health workers. So they were not included in the insurance coverage given by Government of India. So we wrote to government regarding this. So we have all these letters which are listed year-wise on our website. So those who are interested, please go through it. We write many letters regarding the wrong things in our profession, like the absence of registered pharmacist in the shop, the non-pharmacists running the shops. So we definitely advocate for the pharmacy profession, and we advocate for the enforcement of the laws, which are excellent laws, but they are made in 1940s, but they are not enforced well in our country. So you will see all that on this IPA website listed on the homepage itself. We have excellent publications, which you may like. Pharma Times is our official monthly publication, a print publication. Just last 2 months, we had online publication because of COVID. Then this is a research publication, Indian Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences, and IPA Community Pharmacy Division has various publication. One of that I urge you to see. मैं चाहती हूँ कि आप में से सभी फार्मासिस्ट, सभी फार्मेसी एकेडमिशियंस या स्टूडेंट्स जो अभी आज ज्वाइन हुए हैं, all of you, I request you to visit ipapharma.org under publications, and our bi-monthly IPA CPD e-times, all the issues are there. We started it in 2012. It's a free of charge resource for all the pharmacists, students and academicians, as well as all pharmacy professionals. And it has got excellent information, ready to use information for all the pharmacists. So if you're not already receiving it, send us the request and we will include you in on our mailing list. Alternately, all issues are available on the website. Please have a look at it. If you want to know more about the pharmacy practice, what's going on in other countries, we have an excellent resource, Community Pharmacy Practice Around the Globe, Part 1, that is also on the IPA website. Then we have this publication, an exceptional one, because this is the first time somebody published this kind of publication, Responsible Use of Medicines, a Layman's Handbook. And that was released, this is in collaboration with Pharmacy Council of India, we made it, released at the hands of the Honorable Health Minister at that time, 2015, Sri J.P. Nadda ji. So this is an excellent resource for the consumers, as well as I'm sure it is very useful for everyone, like pharmacists and pharmacy students also. We have the campaign campaign for awareness on responsible use of medicine. We have made different posters. You can just have a look at some of them. They are in different languages, 6 different languages. We already have the posters on our IPA website. It is about the basics of medicine usage. What are medicines, how to take it, why to remember the dose, what should we do when we visit the doctor, and all that basics are covered there. Then we have this project which is going on, public-private partnership, engaging the pharmacist in the National TB Control Program since the year 2006. And our pharmacists are now dot providers, that is, they're providing the free TB medicines from the government to the consumers. And the government of India first time engaged a pharmacist in any national health program, and that was this National TB Control Program. So IPA's efforts, which we started in like 2006, delivered the fruits in 2012, and government signed an MOU with IPA as well as with the other collaborating organizations like Pharmacy Council, CRPharm Forum, and AIOCD. This is like a historic development in pharmacy profession, because otherwise pharmacists have been always considered as just drug sellers, the traders. But because of this project, we could prove that pharmacists are not just drug sellers. When trained properly, when motivated properly, pharmacists can do much more for the public health. The team from Vietnam came specially to see how our pharmacists work for the DOTS TV. So that was something like, exceptional thing. As we got an international recognition. Media always covered such type of socio-professional work of IPA, such projects. IPA also has the National Pharmacy Week. For last 53 years, we have been celebrating it in 3rd week of November. Each time we have a different theme. The basic aim of NPW, or National Pharmacy Week, is to create awareness in the public regarding the pharmacy profession, regarding the role of pharmacists. Each year we have a different theme. So now we'll be soon announcing the theme for this year. IP also facilitates the training or exposure programs for the practicing pharmacists. These two pharmacists whom you see, they are one is from Maharashtra, one is from Goa, and they got 3 weeks or 1 month training in the pharmacies abroad. One went to Scotland and the other one went to Sydney. And this was facilitated by IPA through International Pharmaceutical Federation's Pharma Bridge program. So it is an excellent opportunity. If you're part of IPA, if you're connected to IPA, we will definitely try to bring such opportunities to you, which can enhance your knowledge, and which you can, when you come back, you can try to implement it in your own daily practice and improve the pharmacy practice. We also try to facilitate the conference attendance by the pharmacists, which is not the case so far. I mean, these are the few pharmacists who have been going for the few examples where the pharmacists have been going abroad for the conferences and broadening the horizons, knowing more about the pharmacy practice worldwide. So we have different tie-ups, as I said. We work with different companies, organizations, government of India, as well as the Pharmacy Council, FDA, AIOCD, and so there are lots of benefits if you become a member of IPA. Even if you're not a member of IPA, you please visit IPA website and see all the useful resources. But definitely there will be, you will have much more to get from IPA if you are a member. World over, the pharmacy practice is changing from product-centric to person-centric. That means so far we were, we have been just focusing on the medicines, just sale of medicine, but it is no more. The medicine seller role is now getting converted into caregiver role. And that's why IP has been making all these efforts to convert the trader role of the pharmacist to the professional role, as well as the hospital pharmacist role, where they can take a more clinical role and can contribute to the patient's health. So existence of our entire pharmacy profession as well as medical profession is for one client, and that is for the patient. So we strive hard to improve the health of the citizens. So through this webinar, thanks to Servier, we could bring together all of you. More than 3,800 people joined on the first day. I don't know the score yesterday. I'm sure today there must be a similar number. So all of you who are listening to us, who are now connected to us through this webinar, I'm sure we will be working together. And on behalf of IP, again, I welcome you all. Thank you for joining, and we'll be bringing many more webinars for you. Maybe next one we are planning for the clinical pharmacists, hospital pharmacists, but of course, community pharmacists, the retail pharmacists also will get benefit from it. So I just wanted to introduce IPA, and I want to say, let's be very proud of the profession. It is very easy to criticize. It is very easy to say negative things. But let's be proud of the profession. Profession has given us a lot of opportunities to contribute to the public health, to the nation building. So let's be proud as a pharmacist, proud to be pharmacists. Let's work together to take the profession to the higher level and to improve the public health. This is like a small introduction from me to IPA for all of you. Some of you are already IPA members, they know about it. Some of you do not know anything about it. So that's why I thought it is important for you to know what we have been doing. And I now call upon Dr. Raja Reddy, who is head marketing. He'll be talking to you a little bit about what Servier is doing. So welcome, Dr. Raja Reddy.
Thank you, Ms. Manjari, for that small introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. And on behalf of Serdia Pharmaceuticals, I warmly welcome you to the last and final day. As I in my introduction day, this program took almost a month. Dr. Manjari has spent with our teams so that you benefit in the shortest possible time with the best information possible. Some of you may know about Servier, many of you may not know. The first thing what I would like to share with you, we are an international pharmaceutical company which is governed by a non-profit foundation. It may come as a surprise to you that a multinational company is governed by a non-profit foundation. So what does it mean? It doesn't mean that we are not looking for profits, but the profits earned by Servier will not go to any individual or, for example, stock market. Because we have no obligations to individuals or stock markets, we are not running behind quarterly numbers. Or in the long term, we simply can decide our research objectives, which is not the case with companies which collect shareholder money, because they are obliged to provide return to the shareholders. In our case, it's much easier to decide our research objectives. Although in India we are a small company, globally we are a leader in cardiology. In fact, in Europe, if we take only cardiology products, we are second. And if you take ethical prescription products in cardiology, we are fifth worldwide. Every day, 100 million patients benefit from Servier medicines. There is another uniqueness about Servier. The best pharma company in the world today may invest around 9 to 10% of their net profit in R&D. Whereas, because being a non-profit, we are able to invest 25% of our total revenue in R&D. Of course, as a company size, we are much smaller compared to the other MNCs. One of the limitations being a non-profit is because our access to capital is not so easy, we cannot come out with research products every 3 years or 4 years. But we do spend a lot on clinical trials to show patient benefits. What does Serdia support? The first thing what I would like to make clear, we are an MNC, but we are proudly Indian. All our brands except one are manufactured in India. Today there was a very interesting article in Times of India, and it is a known fact. Although many companies do say that they locally manufacture in India, 70 to 80% of our bulk drugs are of Chinese origin. And today it got highlighted to the current crisis which is going on. Servier Serdia, right from the beginning, our bulk drugs are imported from a single factory in France. Now, some of you may question why is that? Because the founder believed when a patient pays a medicine, whether it is in Europe, whether it is in euro or rupee, the quality should be same. So that means we do not produce India-specific diamicron, for example, or Bangladesh-specific diamicron. If your patient buys a Servier product in India, it's the same quality which he can buy anywhere across the world, of course, the price being different. So our raw materials are sourced from a single factory which is established according to the EMEA standards. Today is not the time, of course, to promote our products. This is just to show you the same products are available globally across, of course, with different brand names. I also take the opportunity to thank the pharmacists, everybody who are involved in the supply chain. Without you, the last 90 days of lockdown and the current crisis, we wouldn't have seen through. In fact, you have done more than distributing medicines. You stood rock solid along with doctors and the forces which are serving the nation, opening up the shop. Imagine now we go to the market, there was a single medical shop which was open and everything else was closed. Yet you are there serving. For those of you who have been attending 3 days, there is a very important email ID which I'm mentioning. If you have a problem with downloading your certificate, you can send the details to ipasurveyorcourse@gmail.com. With that very small introduction about the company, today I take this opportunity to introduce both the speakers. Dr. Manjari, who's the Vice President IPA and the Chairperson for the Community Pharmacy Division. She is a recipient of the Pan Asian Ishii Award for Community Pharmacy, which was awarded to her at the 27th FAPA Congress, which was held in Manila. Today, she will be speaking about the role of pharmacists in communicable diseases and getting ready for monsoons. I also take this opportunity to invite Professor Sadhana from the very prestigious Institute of Chemical Technology. She is an eminent research scientist working in the field of pharma and toxicology for more than 30 years. And she would be taking us through patient counseling and stakeholder management. After both of them finish their talk, we will have some time for the questions. We also have, after this session, Shri Shinde, who is the president of AIOCD, and Mr. Rajiv Singhal, General Secretary of AIOCD, who would share their ideas. They wanted to take this opportunity where we are meeting together as a community to share their ideas with us. I would like to thank all of you. Now I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Manjari to take the session forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy, and thanks for the nice introduction. And I'm happy to have my colleague, Dr. Sadhana Sathe here, and I'm glad to know AIOCD President and Secretary will be joining soon. So I'll be speaking about the role of pharmacist in the communicable diseases and the monsoon kind of diseases. We'll be speaking about what is the role of pharmacists globally. Just a quick glimpse. What are communicable diseases? ये कौन से टाइप के डिसीजेस है, कैसे होते हैं, what are the risk factors, little focus on tuberculosis being a major public health problem, a major communicable disease. What is the role of pharmacist overall? What is responsible use of antibiotics? We'll be discussing. So before I start with the communicable diseases, let me quickly tell you, some of you already know, but some of you may not know, that the role of pharmacist दुनिया में like बहुत expand हुआ है, एंड दुकानदार या शॉपकीपर ऐसे उनका रोल नहीं है. वो कैसे कंसिडर किए जाते हैं? दे आर कंसिडर्ड एज अ ट्रू हेल्थ केयर प्रोफेशनल एंड दे आर कंसिडर्ड एज अ लिंक बिटवीन द डॉक्टर एंड द पेशेंट. सो इट इज अ ट्रू प्रोफेशनल रोल दैट इज सीन विद द फार्मासिस्ट. एंड जैसे मैंने पहले कहा कि अभी प्रोडक्ट के ऊपर सिर्फ फोकस नहीं है, सिर्फ हम मेडिसिन की बात नहीं करते, हम किसकी बात करते हैं? पेशेंट की, क्योंकि ये सब मेडिसिन किसके लिए बनाए गए हैं? It's only one end user, that is our patient. So now our focus of the entire pharmacy practice, be community pharmacy practice. Community pharmacy practice जब मैं कहती हूँ तो आपको समझना है कि I'm talking about the retail pharmacy practice, medical shops या pharmacies, chemist shop जो हम कहते हैं, and also the hospital pharmacy practice. So this is now the totally the focus of the pharmacy practice is person centric, and no more we are just the dispenser of medicines. No more we are just the shopkeepers, drug sellers, but now we are a caregiver for our patients. Now that is the global role of the pharmacist. In India, of course, the role is different. We are still struggling here to see the presence of registered pharmacist in the shop, even though law के अनुसार हर एक pharmacy में, हर एक retail shop में pharmacist, registered pharmacist जरूरी है, for all open hours. And I said, as I said earlier, IPA has been always advocating for the same. It is very much required. We cannot do away with the pharmacists. Non-pharmacists can be in the shop, but as a support team under the supervision of a registered pharmacist, the non-pharmacist team, support team, technicians कहिए उनको, वो काम कर सकते हैं. लेकिन रजिस्टर्ड फार्मासिस्ट जरूरी है. तो बाहर की दुनिया में ना कि रजिस्टर्ड फार्मासिस्ट दुकान में है, लेकिन उनके बहुत सारे डिफरेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज दे कैरी आउट. पेशेंट काउंसलिंग करते हैं, होम मेडिसिन रिव्यू करते हैं, प्रिस्क्रिप्शन ऑडिट करते हैं, ड्रग इंटरेक्शन है कि नहीं देखते हैं, स्मोकिंग या ओबेसिटी के लिए उन पेशेंट को एडवाइस देते हैं, स्मोकिंग सिजेशन कैसे करना है. So the role is far more expanded. Now, before we go to the communicable diseases, I just want to tell you how important the role of pharmacists, why it is important. Because what WHO says, if you go to the WHO website, there are some fact sheets, and one of the fact sheet is about that more than half of all medicines are prescribed, dispensed or sold inappropriately. मतलब गलत तरीके से prescribe होते हैं, dispense होते हैं या बेचे जाते हैं. And more important is half of all the patients fail to take the medicines correctly. मतलब मेडिसिन बनाए किसके लिए है, पेशेंट्स के लिए है, लेकिन मोर देन हाफ 50% से ज्यादा पेशेंट्स दवाइयां बराबर से लेते नहीं है. So this is a very alarming situation, and that's why pharmacist role is very important कि हम पेशेंट को मदद करें कि that they use so that they can use the medicines correctly. So pharmacist role is extremely important in this situation. Pharmacist is in a key position. कोई भी बीमार हो जाता है, थोड़ा सा कोई समझो उसको पेन है, फीवर है, वोमिटिंग हो रहा है, डायरिया हो रहा है, वो डॉक्टर के पास नहीं जाएंगे, वो पहले दुकान में आते हैं, फार्मेसी शॉप में आके पूछेंगे. So pharmacist is in a key position, is the first point of contact for patients with any symptoms. And when the patient goes to the doctor, डॉक्टर के यहाँ से प्रिस्क्रिप्शन लेके घर जाने से पहले कहाँ आता है वो, फिर से वो फार्मेसी में आता है, वो हॉस्पिटल की फार्मेसी हो या दुकान हो. So then the pharmacist becomes the last point of contact before the patient receives his medications as prescribed by the doctor. So he's in a key position to influence the behavior of the patient. Now coming to the actual topic, what are communicable diseases? So communicable diseases, in short, we have to remember that these are caused by an infectious agent, means microorganisms, कि जो बैक्टीरिया है, वायरसेस है, प्रोटोजोआ है, फंगाई है. So all microorganisms can cause these infections, and they are directly or indirectly, they can be transmitted from one to the other. तो ये संक्रमित होने वाली बीमारी है, ये संक्रमित होने वाले diseases है. तो communicable diseases, and they can use different media to get transmitted from one to other. Examples of the communicable diseases: typhoid, cholera, COVID-19. So all these are communicable diseases. बट नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिसीजेस, मतलब जो डिसीज एक से दूसरे को संक्रमित नहीं होते, उनको कहते हैं नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिसीजेस. एंड दे आर मोस्टली लाइफस्टाइल डिसऑर्डर्स लाइक डायबिटीज, हाइपरटेंशन, अदर कार्डियक डिसऑर्डर्स, कैंसर, etc. And there is no one single cause for it. There are multiple factors responsible for the causation of these diseases. Now there is increasing medicine usage because the non-communicable diseases are increasing. There is an aging population. Then aging population matlab people are living for much longer time, but they have to live that life, increase life with the medicines. So there is much more usage of medicines, and you can see there is a shift. NCDs are increasing, non-communicable diseases are increasing in proportion. Communicable diseases का burden वैसे थोड़ा कम हो रहा है, लेकिन let me tell you कि ये जो नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिसीजेस है और कम्युनिकेबल डिसीजेस है, उनकी दोनों की दोस्ती रहती है. मतलब किसी पेशेंट को जब डायबिटीज हो जाता है, जो नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिसीजेस है, उसकी इम्यूनिटी कम हो जाएगी एंड वो उसको इन्फेक्शंस होने के ज्यादा चांसेस रहते हैं. जो आज कोविड में भी आपने देखा है, हाई रिस्क ग्रुप किसको कहते हैं? जिनको ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग डिसीजेस है लाइक डायबिटीज, हाइपरटेंशन. सो इवन दो द एनसी communicable diseases are decreasing slightly, still the overall disease burden is very high and medicine consumption is very high. What are the reasons for all these infections? क्यों होते हैं infections? Microorganisms तो है, but we are inviting troubles. Why? Because there is lack of pure drinking water. तो दूषित पानी से बहुत सारी बीमारियां होती है. Lack of hygiene and healthy habits. Because of COVID, first time we are talking in the entire country about the healthy habits. which are the basic, ways of life. We had forgotten that. The hand washing, cup hygiene, we had forgotten that. So lack of hygiene and healthy habits causes infections. Lack of cleanliness, socioeconomic factors like poverty, overcrowding, of course, add up to the problems. Lack of healthy lifestyle, reduced immunity. Our diet has gone wrong, so that also is causing reduced immunity. Malnutrition overall, bad habits like tobacco, alcoholism, drug addiction. All this contributes to the infections. What are the different modes of transmission? The infections can get transmitted from one to other through the insects. इसको बोलते हैं vector. तो लाइक मॉस्किटोज के थ्रू, जैसे मलेरिया होता है, डेंगू होता है, फाइलेरियासिस होता है, या व्हीकल मतलब कंटामिनेटेड वाटर एंड फूड, जिससे टाइफॉइड, कॉलरा, हेपेटाइटिस जैसे होते हैं. एयरबोर्न लाइक ट्यूबरकुलोसिस, डायरेक्ट ट्रांसफर बाय टचिंग, कंजक्टिवाइटिस, स्किन इन्फेक्शन. ड्रॉपलेट इन्फेक्शन जो अभी हम देख रहे हैं, कफिंग, स्नीजिंग, टॉकिंग के कारण कोविड में कोविड इन्फेक्शन कैन स्प्रेड across the placenta from mother to baby. That also can be infection can get transmitted. And the sexual transmission, you know the very well example of HIV/AIDS. Then, so these are the examples of common communicable diseases like malaria in our country. Malaria, typhoid, hepatitis A, leptospirosis, जो specially monsoon में होता है, जब हम दूषित पानी से, when we walk through the water, and then that water can enter through the cuts in our body and we can get this bacterial infection. And diarrheal diseases are common in monsoon, amoebiasis, cholera, and then fungal infections are very common in monsoon. And of course, tuberculosis is always there. What are the different types of medicines which are commonly used? Of course, the antibiotics, and then antiprotozoals, antiamoebics, antifungals, and OTC medicines like ORS or antipyretics, cold medicines. In monsoon season, the most common infections are the gastrointestinal infections like diarrhea, cholera, typhoid, hepatitis A. And these infections are basically because of the lack of hygiene, improper hygiene. Then contaminated drinking water, lack of, there would be lack of cleanliness everywhere, and unhygienic roadside food. We are all tempted to the roadside food. 3 महीने में लास्ट लॉकडाउन में शायद ये सब कम हो गया, लेकिन it is tasty, it is cheap, it is attractive. So many of us, I mean, everybody gets attracted to it. No, I mean, they also learn that these people, vendors, they earn their livelihood by selling this cheap food, which they make it available 24 hours a day almost. But it also is, a lot of hygiene problem is there, because the flies will sit on it, the water which is used may not be good. So roadside food usually is not hygienic and not a healthy thing. So in monsoon season, that these are the main infections that we see, and these are the major problems, that these are the major positive or contributing factors. The respiratory infections that we see all year around, I mean, now I'm adding COVID-19 to that list, is influenza, flu, common cold, swine flu cases are still there. And basically because of lack of respiratory hygiene and close contact, these infections spread from one to other. What is that respiratory hygiene? Whenever we are coughing or sneezing, we should be using tissue or handkerchief. If we are not using that, and if we don't have that, then we should be cupping only in the elbow of the hand. Little introduction to what tuberculosis is. Tuberculosis, why I'm talking specifically only on one infection, because TB is a major public health problem in India, that's why. So tuberculosis is caused by a gram-positive bacteria, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and it spreads by droplet nuclei via the respiratory droplet nuclei. So what are there are two types of TB. One is the one that is pulmonary TB, which affects the lung, and that is communicable infection, and it is a major public health problem because it spreads from one to the other. And the other one is extrapulmonary TB, which affects any organ other than the lungs. So any other organ like lymph nodes, so you can see the swollen lymph nodes. So there can be infection of lymph nodes, there can be TB of brain, TB of intestine, TB of urinary bladder. So there is no such organ in the body which cannot be infected by the TB bacteria. So when the route of entry for the TB bacteria is same, is through the respiratory tract, but it could be pulmonary or extrapulmonary, and we have to focus mainly on the pulmonary because it is a communicable infection. Extrapulmonary usually doesn't spread till the bacteria reach the respiratory tract. So if it is intestine TB, then that patient is not going to be source of infection for others. But all the patients who are coughing, who have lung TB, they are the source of infection. They spread the infection like this. So whenever they cough or sneeze, there will be so many droplets sprayed, and one individual, one untreated individual of lung TB case can spread the infection to 10 to 15 people around him. तो एक टीबी की केस जो हमने ट्रीटमेंट पे नहीं लाई है, जो अनट्रीटेड है, वो समाज में ऐसे ही घूम रहे हैं, खांसी कर रहे हैं, वो 10 से 15 लोगों को एक साल में, मतलब उनके फैमिली मेंबर्स, उनके दुकान, मतलब उनके यहाँ क्लोज काम करने वाले, तो उनको वो इन्फेक्शन देके जाएंगे. What are the symptoms of TB? Everybody knows it. Just a revision quick. Cough more than 2 weeks. And if the patient already has diabetes or similar problem, cough more than 2 weeks नहीं. कभी भी उनको ज्यादा 2-4-5 दिन कफ हो रहा है तो टीबी की टेस्ट करनी जरूरी है. आई मीन टीबी के लिए क्लिनिकल सस्पिशन लेना जरूरी है. इवनिंग माइल्ड फीवर, लॉस ऑफ एपिटाइट, लॉस ऑफ वेट, सो पेशेंट अपीयर्स सिक, बार बार आपकी दुकान में आएगा कफ कोल्ड या फीवर की दवाइयाँ के लिए. So why I spoke about TB is because we have very high TB burden in the country. Today we are talking about the deaths due to COVID. But you know how many deaths we see each year because of TB for last many years, and that is 4.5 lakh people each year die in India due to tuberculosis. We have more than 1,000 deaths each year, each day because of TB. So like it is said like there are 2 deaths every 3 minutes because of TB. So we carry such a high burden, and we are topping in the TB burden in the world. World's 27% of TB patients are with us. So now overall in these infectious diseases, communicable diseases, what pharmacists can do. And basically for the prevention, we can have community awareness. Then we can suggest some OTC medicines appropriately. Then responsible use of antibiotics should be taught to the patient, because antibiotics are the first line of treatment for many infections. And specifically what we can do in treatment of a TB control. So in monsoon season, when we are talking about the infections, some of the common measures that we need to take, that everybody of you are aware: avoid eating outside. It may not happen 100%, but that's what we should be telling our patients कि अभी बाहर का नहीं खाओ. अभी लॉकडाउन के कारण अभी सब मार्केट खुल रहा है, तो थोड़े like roadside food may start in some time, or country में in some parts of the country it might have already started. In Mumbai so far no, but it will slowly start. And so we should be telling them that try to eat as much as possible the fresh food and do not eat the roadside food. Also, we should be telling them about the importance of the pure drinking water, boiled filtered water. Whenever even they are traveling to work, etc., they should be carrying the boiled or filtered water if there is no facility of filtered water at the workplace. Use of dry clothes. This is specifically with reference to the fungal infections. So fungal infections increase in this moisture-led environment of monsoon. So dry clothes are very important. Otherwise, fungal infections will definitely increase. Hand hygiene, extremely important in all seasons, not only in monsoon. And because of COVID, we have all learned about what hand hygiene is. So hand washing properly with soap more than 20 seconds, or hand sanitizer when the hand wash is not possible. Respiratory hygiene, as I said, either use the tissue or the handkerchief while coughing. Never cough like this. If there is a coughing action and you don't have tissue or the handkerchief, then we should be coughing with our elbow, but never in our hand like this. Otherwise, we'll be spreading all that infectious particles, I mean the microorganisms, on our hand, and that will become source of infection. Then we also have to tell them about if there is malaria more in parts of the states, in parts of the country like Orissa, there is very high malaria burden. So their pharmacists can get engaged in this malaria control program or malaria awareness program specifically. But in other parts of the country also, there is always need. Immunity building, we can advise the patients about the healthy diet, exercise, which contributes to immunity. Not only advise the patients, but we ourselves also can do that. So there's no need to take, a lot of multivitamins and supplements, all that. Our regular balanced diet and exercise helps us in immunity building. and to the children or to the parents of the children. We have to check on, pharmacists can check on whether immunization is going on as per the schedule. So it is very important to provide to every child the immunization, all that is scheduled in the national immunization schedules. Now, how can we create this awareness? How the pharmacists can create this awareness? I'm sure some of you are already doing a very good job. So congratulations to them who are already counseling the patients, who are providing the patient. But those who are not aware or who are not yet started, so they can be of course talking face to face, the advice can be given. That is of course one thing. लेकिन दुकान में भीड़ रहती है, आपको टाइम नहीं है. So you can have some ready leaflets which are made by WHO or which are made by IPA or Pharmacy Council, standard information, not the authentic information. You can put the posters in the pharmacy. You can use telemessages like through WhatsApp, SMS messages can go every day to your patient, every day or periodically. You can organize the health camps with help of NGOs, local government, local municipal corporation, Rotary Club, pharma companies. Observe important health days. I would just like to bring your attention, draw your attention to certain health days like Global Hand Washing Day, which is 15th October. I'm sure, I mean, we should all celebrate, observe such day because of COVID. We have understood the importance of hand washing. And so the WHO has kept 15th October as a global hand washing day. So why not create awareness in the community? It is an opportunity that we can use. And as you know, because of proper hand washing, not only we can keep COVID away, but we can keep more than 50% of our gastrointestinal infections away, as well as common cold and pneumonia and other respiratory infections. Then other health day I just want to bring your attention is 24th March, World Tuberculosis Day. We can have TB awareness campaigns around that time, or 1st December, which is World AIDS Day. So you can use only authentic information, which is unbiased, genuine, correct scientifically, and that you can find on World Health Organization or CDC websites, or just contact us, we'll inform you. We also have a lot of informative literature. You can organize, as I said, the health camp. This is one of the examples from Kalyan, Maharashtra. The pharmacist has organized the health camp. Then coming to next role of pharmacists, that is how to achieve the responsible use of antibiotics. So first of all, the pharmacist's role in this is, which you may consider a challenging role. Do not dispense without a prescription. Dispense antibiotics only on the prescription of a registered मेडिकल प्रैक्टिशनर. कल आपके साथ FDA के फॉर्मर कमिश्नर बात कर रहे थे, फॉर्मर असिस्टेंट कमिश्नर. So you were talking about Schedule H and H1. So most of the antibiotics fall in Schedule H1. So you also have to keep the register for it. So dispense the antibiotics only on a prescription. In rainy season, especially diarrhea होता है पेशेंट को, आपके पास आके डायरेक्टली ofloxacin मांगते हैं, norfloxacin मांगते हैं. So we should not be giving that. Because that way we will add to the antibiotic resistance. We should not be giving antibiotics without a prescription. But if the patient comes with the prescription of an antibiotic, counsel the patient for its correct use. That means patient should follow the entire schedule as prescribed by doctor, complete the course of antibiotic, do not miss the dose. तो पेशेंट को ये 2 मिनट में बताना है कि ये प्रिस्क्रिप्शन में ये एंटीबायोटिक है, क्योंकि पेशेंट को पता नहीं रहेगा कि वो प्रिस्क्रिप्शन में 4-5 ड्रग रहेंगे, उसमें एंटीबायोटिक कौन सा है. तो वो 2 मिनट हमें जरूर पेशेंट के लिए रखने हैं और पेशेंट को बताना है कि ये देखो ये एमोक्सिसिलिन क्लेवुलानिक एसिड है, मतलब उसको ये ब्रांड का जो भी ब्रांड है वो नाम बता के कि ये आपके लिए एंटीबायोटिक है, ये आपको इन्फेक्शन के लिए दिया गया है और 5 दिन लेना है, तो ये पूरा करो कोर्स, भूलना नहीं, एक्सेट्रा. So we can tell in our own language, in our own way. Socio-cultural differences बहुत रहते हैं, तो वो आपको आपके friendly relations रहते हैं patients के साथ, तो it's very easy for you actually if we can spare some time for that. So discourage self-medication of antibiotics totally. As I said कि patient आपके पास मांगने आएगा, थोड़ा सा भी diarrhea कुछ हो जाएगा तो ofloxacin दे दो, या skin infections के लिए antifungals etc. So please discourage that. You may say कि हम लोग discourage करेंगे तो वो दूसरे दुकान से लेके आएंगे, बात सही है, लेकिन जब तक सब लोग ऐसे नहीं सोचेंगे, नहीं, कुछ लोग तो देने वाले विदाउट प्रिस्क्रिप्शन, कुछ लोग नहीं देने वाले हैं, लेकिन हमें कंट्रीब्यूट करना है. वी आर फार्मासिस्ट, सो वी शुड बी रिटेनिंग आवर एथिक्स एंड एज मच एज पॉसिबल डिस्करेज एनी सेल्फ मेडिकेशन. पेशेंट को बताना है कि मैं तुझे कुछ ओटी से देता हूँ, फिर ठीक नहीं लगा तो डॉक्टर के पास जाओ, एंड देन इफ यू गेट अ प्रिस्क्रिप्शन आई विल बी हैप्पी टू serve you the dispense the prescription. So also by instructing the patients not to share any antibiotic, leftover antibiotic use nahi karo. So basically we have to really concentrate on antibiotics because antibiotic resistance is a major problem worldwide and a very big problem in India. One day it may happen that the patient has an infection and none of the antibiotics work on him. Also we can reduce the use of antibiotics by telling the patients about the importance of vaccination, hand washing, healthy habits, etc. ipapharma.org पे आप जाएंगे तो lot of posters are there for antibiotics. You can download that, use it for patients. Just little bit about diarrhea. Diarrhea में patient comes with the complaint of diarrhea, immediately antibiotics नहीं देना है. Give ORS, instruct how to use. I think in the first day of the webinar, Dr. Manjura explained about the use of ORS. So ORS के ऊपर instructions भी लिखे हुए रहते हैं. So give ORS, maybe give zinc supplement in case of children if it is available. You may give probiotics, but not the antibiotics. And refer the patient to doctor if the condition worsens and if there are other complications. Coming to the end of the presentation, specifically little bit more on TB control. So what role we can play in the prevention and control of tuberculosis? Whatever we saw so far is in general with regards to the communicable diseases. We have the role of awareness, responsible use of antibiotics, medication counseling, or giving the right OTC drug. But in case of tuberculosis specifically, we should all concentrate, every pharmacist should concentrate on creating awareness about the TB. A lot of literature is freely available from government also, which can be used, different languages पे है. तो टीबी के बारे में अपने समाज में क्रिएट करें जो आवश्यक अवेयरनेस है वो. रिफरल ऑफ चेस्ट सिम्टोमेटिक केसेस, जो आपके पास खांसी के पेशेंट्स आते हैं, फीवर के पेशेंट्स आते हैं, उनको रिफर करें at least to the government sector or to the private sector for the checkup. Provision and monitoring of dot treatment of government के साथ जुड़ सकते हैं, हमारे IPA के माध्यम से जुड़ सकते हैं. You can become a dot provider. So free medicines to the patients and counseling for medication adherence. TB की treatment minimum 6 to 8 months रहती है. So patient leaves the treatment और फिर resistant TB होता है. So it is very important that we do this role, and this is a great opportunity. Just even if we concentrate on TB, I mean, we have to give advice and do counseling for all infections, all diseases, in fact. But even if you concentrate just for TB, it will be a great social service opportunity. You have great opportunity through the pharmacy to serve to the society. Pharmacy profession has a lot of social aims, and you don't need to step out of the shop to do any kind of social service. आपके शॉप के माध्यम से ये हो सकता है. So please concentrate on TB, and it is an opportunity to contribute to the public health and improve the nation's health. So we have already a lot of pharmacists through IPS partnership with the other organizations also, including AICD. We have many pharmacists who are working as dot provider. So coming to the same point, we are all existing for our end users, that is our patients, and we should do everything possible through the pharmacy for these patients. We should be person-centric, not the product-centric, because it is said that the power of the molecule is released by the hands of the pharmacist. And those are the hands that you have. You are in this profession. So congratulations for what you have been doing for the COVID-19 pandemic. You have been working very hard at the front line, and really hats off to your work. And so please continue that. And it is, you have got the power of the molecule which can be released through your hands. So I feel this is the end of my presentation, and this is the last day of our webinar. But I think it's a new road ahead for all of you. So be with us, and we'll be serving profession, and we'll be trying to improve the public health by coming together. Thank you very much for Servier for this collaboration for this webinar. And now I welcome my colleague, my dear colleague, Dr. Sadhana Sathe, for she will be delivering a presentation on patient counseling. So that is kind of an extension of what I have been talking to you. Thank you.
Through the patient counseling. So maybe some of the points will be overlapping with what Dr. Manjari said. So let me just start sharing my presentation. Can you all see the presentation? Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, let me just take you through this patient counseling. And thank you, Servier, as well as IPA, for this particular initiative of yours to manage the pharmacy practices in the best possible manner. So, let us start. Why do you counsel the patients? See, the aim finally is to have effective and safe use of medicines. And generally, the patient, as Manjari said, that it is final client is the patient. So, and the doctor to patient ratio in India particularly is very, very low. Maybe for one doctor, you may have about more than 1,000 number of patients. So it is the responsibility of us, the pharmacists, to be a link between the doctor and the patient and to help them to have maximum therapeutic outcome of the prescription that the doctor or the physician writes. So basically, they have lack of sufficient knowledge about their health problems as well as the medications that they receive. Very little doctor-patient dialogue simply because very less number of doctors are there for huge number of patients. Also, it is very important to explain to the patient the concept of compliance in the sense that if you adhere very strictly to the prescription written down by the doctor, it will definitely increase or it will definitely benefit in terms of therapeutic outcome. And also, it will reduce medication related problems for that matter if you adhere well or if you comply well with the prescription. So, what exactly counseling means? So, counseling is providing medical information either orally, you could just talk to the patient, or as Madam said, you could just have posters which you could download from some sites and just hand it over to the patient. I mean, either orally or in written form to the patients or maybe to their representatives about how do you use them, advice on side effects of the medications, the precautions that are to be taken while taking the medication. Of course, I'll take you through with different examples. How do you store one? Whether you could have any lifestyle modifications to have maximum therapeutic efficiency, something like that. That is what counseling is. So you should have little, I mean, as she said, I know you guys are very busy on the shop front, but even then it is very important because finally we all are catering to the patient. So have some, patience and talk to the patient about the medications and about their health problems. So how do you do that? So first of all, you take them into confidence. You introduce yourself as a pharmacist and uh, obtain the patient's agreement to participate. I mean, yes, whatever you will tell him. And I'm sure the patients always want to know more because the physicians really don't have time to talk to them. So know about the health problems of the patients, the medications that are advised, whether the patient is capable of using that medication properly, and know the patient's views about the purpose of medication, how the patient is going to use it, and if there are any concerns about the experience with that medication, meaning I get acidity or I feel sleepy or something like that. Understand the patient's views as well so that you can counsel him in a better manner. So, what do you counsel him about? You counsel him about the purpose of the medication, right mode of administration of the medication, the right dosage schedule, when to take it, whether to take it before food, after food, something like that. Storage conditions, the potential adverse effects, any food or any activity which is to be avoided or followed during the therapy. Observe very, very minute details like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, dizziness, etc. And keep a note of that. As Madam said, I'm not getting into it, but when a patient comes to you for diarrhea, never give him antibiotic immediately. Explain him what diarrhea is all about and explain him the importance of ORS, and how that will help him improve the weakness or the cramps or the acidosis for that matter. So some few examples where you could just inform the patient. See, when the physician will write a prescription, he'll just write XYZ antibiotic and then he'll write, how do I take it? He will say, take it with breakfast. So, tell the patient if he's been prescribed doxycycline, don't take it with milk, simply because the calcium in the milk will be chelated by this molecule, and then the absorption of this particular molecule and the therapeutic efficacy will reduce. So explain the patient never to take such doxycycline, tetracycline kind of medicines with milk. If he is on an anti-TB therapeutics, the the treatment goes on for a long time. First, first it goes for 6 months, which is very, very, you can say, very strong treatment, and then for next 2 years. But then most of the medicines would produce jaundice. First line treatment of TB that we call may produce jaundice and neuritis, and explain him about that. Aspirin, never to take it on an empty stomach because it may cause bleeding. And something like metronidazole, which is an anti-amoebic drug, may produce metallic taste in the mouth. Just explain the patient that this can happen. And then as we talk about the compliance, like you want the patient to adhere strictly to the prescription written out by the doctor. So extent to which the patient adheres to this particular prescription is called as compliance. And non-compliance will lead to therapeutic failure, whereas compliance will definitely lead to therapeutic, better therapeutic outcome. So what are some do's and don'ts for effective therapy? As we saw first two examples just on the last slide. But then there is something like antibiotics like azithromycin and norfloxacin to be taken on an empty stomach. They have to be taken on an empty stomach so that they can work better, they get absorbed better. While taking oral contraceptives, please explain the patient that don't miss the dose. Missing the dose will definitely reduce the what do you say, or that they will increase the chances of conception. Some antidepressant medicines, most of them, you should not have tyramine or monoamine containing foods like chocolate, cheese, or wine, simply because if you have these medications with these, there is a likelihood of causing very high blood pressure. You call it as hypertensive crisis. So it's very important not to have, what do you say, or that they will increase the chances of anti-diabetic drugs. If a patient misses out on one dose, tell him not to take 2 doses at a time, simply because he may have hypoglycemia, which is very, very severe. So tell him if you miss it out, it's okay. Next time, don't miss it. And of course, as Madam told, antibiotics, one must complete the course, otherwise resistance is for sure. So let us now scroll, through different dosage forms and how you could guide the patients about it. So explain them about different tablets, if they could be broken into two, if the hard gelatin capsules or the soft gelatin capsules. Explain them that not all capsules are for swallowing. There are some capsules which can be cut open into hot water for inhalation. And some of the capsules may also contain eye ointment for a single use for that matter. Explain the patient, otherwise they may just take it up as such. And then some oral liquid dosage forms like suspensions and syrups and dry syrups with which you get water for injection for reconstitution. So I'm of course getting into that. So important do's and don'ts with the oral dosage forms is that dosage accuracy is very important. Never dilute solutions, because if turbidity appears, that means the drug has got precipitated, that may not get absorbed well. So never dilute, take it and then you can have water. Don't dilute and take it. Check well the suspensions before use. Water should should not be taken along with cough syrups. or even after the cough syrup, simply because cough syrups are supposed to coat the throat and prevent coughing for that matter. So please explain them that when you take cough syrup, just don't drink any water along with it or even after that. Always use boiled or cooled water for reconstitution and follow all the instructions well on the label. Never use separated emulsions or caked suspension because you don't know what is the amount of drug that you may be taking in that case. So explain them if, when injections as a dosage form, explain them about the injections, that they are sterile and you have to use sterile needles and sterile syringes, particularly people who take insulin on their own intramuscularly mostly. So explain them that you need to clean that particular part where you're going to inject and show them the needle which has, show them the syringe which has dosage marks on that so that they don't, you know, go in wrong anywhere and maximum therapeutic outcome is there. Semi-solid preparations, there are so many of them: ointments, gels, creams, pastes, poultices, and suppositories. So always see for intact seal, and you must explain them that to open an ointment tube, please take adequate precautions, otherwise the ointment will just ooze out. Do not ever accept, explain the, of course, see, it is for the consumers, but of course it is for the pharmacist to tell the end client, our client, that don't accept the damaged tube. Always look for the, of course you will also not give them, but explain them that this is very important to see for expiry date. Some anti-inflammatory gels like nimesulide and diclofenac, never rub them. Please tell them that. They may not know. Because in general, anti-inflammatory, wherever swelling is there, you rub it. So please tell them not to rub it because the excipient may cause toxicity. And another thing is that सेक लेते हैं, like they warm the area after application. Particularly not so true for these gels because they already have many times a counter irritant, and that may just what you say worsen the condition. And one more important thing, that all these anti-inflammatory gels never apply on broken skin, simply because that may produce more irritation if the skin is broken. Now, antibiotic or antiseptic creams, there is a way how to use it. On a oozing wound, you should never use creams. You should first clean the affected area either with spirit or with diluted Dettol. Or if you don't have anything, you simply boiled and cooled water. Simple as that. And clean it nicely with a cotton or a gauze piece. And of course, hands should be dry, and then with dry hands apply a uniform and thin layer. If it is bleeding, never apply any antibiotic or antiseptic cream on that one. Ensure that the bleeding has stopped, then clean, and then you can apply the antibiotic or antiseptic cream. Please tell the patients about that. Now about pastes and poultices, I want to tell you that these preparations are not on Indian market much. I was also trying to see that, but they have high solid content and generally used as keratolytic or antifungal agents. Even sometimes they are used in case of psoriasis, but these have very high solid content. But we use in India, poultices are used. I just thought that you should know about these pests which are available uh, in the uh, American market, simply because this one particularly is a paste of honey which is used for wound healing, and this is a protective paste for any kind of wound for that matter. But poultices we use in India, and Dukh Dabav Leb, which is, I'm sure you all must have seen that, comes as a powder, and then we should just mix it with water and then apply on a clean piece, either gauze piece or a clean cotton, and then apply it on an inflamed area. So generally poultices are used for inflammation. Now for ocular root, there are different dosage forms like solution, suspension, ointments, and inserts. And some guidelines that you should remember, that you should never touch the tip onto the surface of the eye. You should tell the patient that when you open the container, the closure should be kept on a clean cloth, and without touching the surface, you should be able to put the ointment or eye drops. And if you can't do that, just tell some other person in the home to do that for you. And always remember, tell them, explain them that once you open the eye drop or such eye preparations, just keep it for, don't use it after 1 month. It's advocated not to use eye preparations after 1 month, simply for the uh, concern of contamination. Nasal preparations, there are, nasal route has got different advantages. It's like avoids the first pass effect, and it has got local action. Mostly you use nasal decongestants via this route, or many times even system nowadays, I mean, some novel formulations are delivering proteins and peptide drugs through the nasal formulation, simply because I have also seen some preparations to get direct entry into the brain. People are using this particular dosage form. Same precautions like the eye ointment, not to use after 1 month, and nasal spray, nasal inhalers are used. Pulmonary route, similar kind of advantages in the sense that produces local action as far as, I mean, as far as bronchodilation is concerned, and many times for systemic action also, because the lungs are very highly perfused with blood vessels, and it just bypasses the first pass metabolism, and that's the best thing about the pulmonary route. And you have spray solutions, suspensions, aerosols, and various devices by which you can administer the drug via the pulmonary route. And I have some pictures of Rotahaler wherein you put in a capsule and then just cringe it and put the mouthpiece into the mouth and keep on inhaling. And oral inhaler is, explain them what is the right way of doing it. And if they don't understand, you may have some, posters like Madam said, just leaflets, hand it over to them that this is the right way of using them. But it's important to explain the patient so that they get the maximum therapeutic outcome out of that. Now, do's or don't, like while buying or using the medicine. Of course, this is for patient, but it's your responsibility to tell them that read the label, understand the evident features, see that it's not tampered, examine the medication before you take it. Tell them, they must know that. Never take the medicine in dark. It's pointless. It's not right, because you may take something else. Always see to it that you take the right kind of medication for the right kind of disease. I mean, whatever the doctor has prescribed. Examine the label and the medicine every time you take it, or you give it to the patients for that matter. And tell people that if the product does not look good, don't take it, come back with the product, replace it if it's not good. Safe use of prescription drug, you can always follow the medication directions very carefully. Do not increase or decrease the dose without talking to the doctor. Don't, it wouldn't do good, maybe it would do bad. Please tell them that dose dumping could lead to adverse effect. Do not stop medication on your own. It's a practice of people. Say, supposing a doctor prescribes a steroid for a atopic disease, for some allergies. So he will give, the dose will be like slowly increasing, then plateau, and then slowly decreasing. If you stop the medication on your own, you're not, it is going to show resistance next time. And even sometimes, particularly for anti-epileptic drugs, now I'm feeling better, I'm not going to take it. Never do that, because these medications are to be stopped in a peculiar manner, which the physician only will tell you. So please tell, if you find such prescriptions, please advise the patients counsel the patients not to stop on their own, never to crush or break the pill. It's something like I remember this Prazosin mini press tablet that you use for hypertension. You have 2, 3 strengths, 2.5 milligrams, 5 milligrams. So patient, because he's already got 5 milligrams and the doctor then reduces the dose to 2.5 milligram and he breaks the pill. What's the big idea? He may be, what you say, exposed to the adverse effect. The dose dumping can happen because such kind of drugs are for, controlled release or sustained release. Please explain them this concept that never do that. Instead, get a new uh, strip of medication and use that. Be clear about the drug effects on driving and other daily tasks, particularly when you see an antihistaminic prescription written out for a particular patient. Tell him not to drive. Because antihistamines can themselves produce some kind of sedation. Of course, nowadays you get the what do you say non-sedating antihistaminics also, but please explain them that it is not correct to drive once you are on antihistaminics. Many of the drugs, I'm coming to that. Inform the doctor about past history of substance abuse, whether you were an alcoholic or a drug abuser or smoker, whatever. You should tell the doctor about it so that he knows how to manage the prescription for that matter. And as madam said, never share your prescription. Don't use other person's prescriptions and medications. Never do that. Explain the patients about that. Learn about potential drug interactions with alcohol, smoking, and OTC medications, and also with other prescription medications. I'm going to give you some simple examples of this. So now alcohol interactions, if you see most of the anti-diabetic drugs, most of the commonly used anti-diabetic drugs, if you take it with alcohol, they are going to produce hypoglycemia, which is very, very concerned about, which is very, very dangerous also. And anti-amoebic and anthelmintic could produce disulfiram-like reactions, meaning the alcohol withdrawal drug symptoms you may get with metronidazole and levamisole if you have alcohol with it. And many drugs which are catering to and hypertension, meaning many of the antihypertensive regime drugs, hypotension potentiation will be there with alcohol. So serious hypertension can lead to giddiness, and please tell the patients never to take alcohol with these. And particularly codeine, diazepam, haloperidol, if you take them with alcohol, it will increase sedative effect. So please spend some time to see the prescription and explain the patient about it. Smoking reduces action of most of the drugs. Antacid should not be taken with some drugs like most of the antibiotics, phenytoin, digoxin, and chlorpromazine, because it may impair absorption of these drugs. So you should not take antacids, particularly drugs like Cipron or fluoxetine. Their activity reduces and never, because see, the physician will write the prescription antibiotic, antacid. Tell them not to do it along with. Take antacid, space them differently. Phenytoin, it's a narrow therapeutic index. It's an anti-epileptic drug. And if you take it with antacid, you may not see the therapeutic outcome at all. So tell the patient about it. Pregnant and lactating mothers, tell them that the safe drug use is unsafe during the first and last trimester of the pregnancy. And in the second trimester, the drugs are allowed only under medical supervision. Please explain them that. Now, as I told you, that there are many drugs, many categories of drugs, which when you are on, never drive or do any work which requires mental and physical activity, because most of these therapeutics, they cause sleepiness, blurred vision, dizziness, and that is not so good when you are driving, because you may harm not only yourself, you may even harm some other people for that matter. So it is best to adjust the dosing timings if you want to drive or do some important work. Then drug and drug food interactions. It is very important that you pharmacists play a major role in this. Although you don't have time, at least you have a computer with you, you have those books with you, and just read the prescription. And I'm listing some common drug and drug food interactions here. So as I told you, ciprofloxacin with antacids, tell them to space it out. Antidepressants with blood pressure lowering agents, the blood pressure lowering agents will not have their effect, because antidepressants will increase the monoamine level many of the times, and that's the reason never use it with blood pressure lowering agents. And generally they are given like that, so space them, explain them how to space them. Rifampicin with birth control, anti-TB drug with birth control pills may reduce the effectiveness of birth control pill, because rifampicin metabolizes the hormone, and so please tell them that space it out, or don't go on this particular mode for contraception, go on some other mode of contraception. Viagra, when used with nitrates for heart treatment, will produce serious hypertension. Blood thinning drugs like warfarin will react with aspirin, meaning causing fatal hemorrhages. Uh, so, this is typically, you should not take aspirin for this matter when you are on blood thinners. Ciprofloxacin with cola, chocolate, coffee, caffeine can produce excitability and hello, hello, okay. Drugs for mood disorders, as I explained, and antidepressants should never be taken with chocolate wine. And I told you that's because the hypertensive crisis, simply because the drugs, these food substances, they contain monoamines, and these drugs increase the monoamine levels. And that's the reason they can produce hypertension. Many paracetamol and ibuprofen, when taken with alcohol, can produce liver damage. And vitamin K and many of the dietary supplements may reduce the effectiveness of blood thinning medications like warfarin. So these are some common drug food interactions that I have told you. So you must explain it to your clients, that's the patient. So prescription pain relievers. So when a patient comes with a prescription pain medication like containing codeine or codeine with paracetamol or dextromethorphan, explain them that these drugs can interfere with either antidepressants or with OTC cough syrups or with antihistaminics or with alcohol, and can cause all these symptoms of overdose. So, maybe life-threatening respiratory failure can happen. Explain the patients not to take these drugs or alcohol with these prescription medications, centrally acting pain relievers. So there are certain drugs, OTC drugs with addictive potential. And I'm sure you must be knowing about it, because you will have clients asking you for a Benadryl syrup or Arcoril tablets, you know, uh, what do you say, frequently. So that is maybe because there are many people who feel that they get good sleep with Benadryl or some cough syrups for that matter. So explain them that not to do it. They can cause addiction and it's not a good idea. So I've just listed a few of them. With generally they produce hallucinations or euphoria for that matter. And remember to explain them that avoid alcohol or smoking while on drug therapy, because smoking will always reduce effectiveness of all the drugs, and you have seen alcohol will potentiate action of many of the drugs for that matter. So useful tips for effective and rational drug use is: how do you store the medicine? So tell them to store it in a box, but away from children, not on the window pane, not in the bathroom, because it will be exposed to warm and humid climate, not near the refrigerator or TV or microwave or oven, so away from the heat. So, if you don't have time for this, just make a leaflet or download it from some site, as Madam said, WHO or even IPA, and hand it over to them and explain them that abide by this, do this for your goodness. Eye drops and eye ointments, as we saw, that not to be used after 1 month. Don't touch the tip. Keep the closure on a clean, hygienic cloth. Don't remove the silica pouch in a capsule or a tablet bottle simply because silica helps in absorbing the moisture and reducing the damage of capsules and tablets for that matter. Do not swallow the dispersible tablet. Aspirin, dispersible, Disprin, you get, explain them that they have to put it in water, mix it well, and then take it. Don't swallow it. Swallowing will delay the onset of action. So you must tell them that. Fever of unknown origin, of course, Madam also spoke about them, but always explain your patients that, say, supposing if they come to you for fever, so explain them, don't cover the patient in blankets, the way the patient will suffocate. Instead, have cold and tepid sponging so that the fever starts coming down. Give simple antipyretic drugs like paracetamol, but tell them that the diagnosis of the fever is extremely important, and for that matter they should go to the physician, visit the physician, and that you are just having, kind of helping them to reduce the fever, but finally they should go to the physician for that. Use of antacids, that's also very, very important, because you will be having a lot of prescriptions for antacids, and of course you would sell it on the counter as well. So explain them that the hygiene works, the liquid works better than tablets. Don't crush the antacid tablets or even swallow them. They are for chewing, so chew them. People have a habit, because they get acidity, they just put a tablet in their mouth and they go to sleep. That's not correct. And that may spoil their teeth for that matter. Or Eno or soda. They have a habit of taking Eno or soda. That relieves, the flatulence. It feels good. But then these antacids, because of the carbon dioxide produced, can produce rebound acidity. You must explain your patients about this if they are into doing it. Use of antibiotics, Madam has well talked about it. I'm not going to much take time about it. And you have to complete the course. I'll tell you one very good example about diarrhea, as she said. See, the course is Norflox Norflox TZ when you give. It is 1 into 3, meaning for 3 days. So within 1 day, if they feel good, they stop. Tell them not to. Complete the dose. It's very important. Otherwise, resistance can occur. And thank you so much. I hope you have understood. This is my research team, and I'm open for any questions that you have.
Ma'am, Professor Sadhana and Ms. Manjari, thank you very much for your excellent elucidation. Actually, we are running short of time. We were supposed to finish at 4 o'clock. So what we will try and do is, we already have President AIOCD, Shri Shindeji, and Shri Singhal, General Secretary of AIOCD. What we will try and do is, once their lecture is over, they wanted to communicate. We'll try and see if any questions are there. Also, my colleague Sami would reach out with the questions we have already received so that we can answer them. So if that is all right with you, because my apologies.
No, it's fine.
Because we are running behind schedule. So that's why. Okay. So Shri Shindeji and Shri Singhal, if you are there, can you please continue with your presentation? You wanted to address the participants. Hello, Mr. Singhal.
Yeah, I am here.
Please take over. You can continue. I will go offline. You can address the participants now. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you very much for organizing this webinar. I was listening this webinar since last 2-3 days, and what I appreciate that you have covered all the points in this webinar. I request my president Shri J.S. Shinde, who is also the president of MSCDA, AIOCD, and chairman of MSCDA, AIOCD Limited. And he is also the Central Committee member of Pharmacist Association, And I request Appa to address to the pharmacist and chemist of the country. Appa, please.
First of all, I am very much thankful to IPA and appreciate the IPA has arranged this seminar last 3-4 days. I think it is attended by most of all the stockists as well as CNF and some of the chemists, pharmacists also. And today also, I think it has been guided by renowned professors in pharmacy. And I know the guidance given by all these professors will be useful to the pharmacists, stockists, to face this COVID. In the COVID era, now today immunity is the magic word, and everybody whosoever come to face this COVID today, the pharmacists need immunity, the patient need immunity, and I think we have to see that everybody should maintain this immunity. On this last 2-3 days, the IPA has guided to all my fellow pharmacists and distributors on this. On behalf of All India Chemists and Druggist Association, I am very much thankful to organizers, particularly IPA, and all the professors who guided to the member. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Maharaj, you continue.
धन्यवाद शिंदे साहेब. जैसा शिंदे साहब ने बताया, I will continue with this. So first of all, I want to thank all the chemists of the country and the pharmacists of the country. Those have served in this crucial and pandemic situation in last 3 months. And they are continuously, they are giving support to the humanity and delivering the medicine with all the challenges in the country. Because everything was in lockdown and our chemist and pharmacist was doing wonderful job by serving the nation, delivery of the medicine in the country to nook and corner of the country. So I want to thank all chemists, pharmacists, and all retailers, wholesalers for this wonderful job. Now, as I have listened this session since last 2-3 days, all the speakers, renowned speakers, they have done fantastic well, because this time the system is prevailing, whatever the system, and we don't know up to when the situation is going to continue. A pandemic is going on. What pharmacist and chemist is needed? First of all, he should need that he should be safe and secure with the situation, because he has to fight with the situation every day. He has to go to the shop to deliver the medicine. So he should personally take care of himself and his family, so that he should not get exposed with the current COVID-19. So he should take precaution. He should wear the mask, use sanitizer. He should have the soap in his shop, and also the same precautions to be cared by him for the patient. Those are coming at his shop for the taking the medicine. Also, for the patient, it is patients are the easy access for the healthcare profession. So they should advise, as rightly told by Shinde Saab, that immunity is the best thing, because if the immunity is strong, so they should also ask the person for the immunity product, so that the immunity of the person can be strong to fight with this COVID-19 situation. So they should also promote the things. They should have the prescription, as I was listening today, that we should sell whatever the medicine, the prescription is there, we should sell the medicine like that only. No medicine should be given, as the government has tried to tell us, all the pharmacists of the country and all the chemists of the country, that the drugs, the cold, cough, and all that should be delivered by the to the patient on prescription. So that we should follow that. That there should be no patient should come with the COVID and he take the medicine and he's not if he found positive afterwards, then it will be the wrong scenario for the particular patient. So our chemist or pharmacist to try that. If the cold and cough patients are there, they should send the patient to the doctor for the advice to the doctor. Also, we have to give the confidence to the patient, because when the patient comes to us, you are first after doctor, you are the person there to consult with him, to give the moral support. So try to give the moral support for him when he comes to us, and without exposing yourself, you have to do it. You can also talk to similar like patient that the steam inhalation should be there. They should also drink hot water in the time. Yoga is the perfect idea to give them, that they should do the yoga morning and evening, so that the immunization system of the particular people or the patient should be strong. That can be done in our family also. The sales of the pharmacies for the immunity product is coming on. So we should have the sufficient stock for the products, sanitizer, mask, and we should have the proper bill for that. We should not sell anything, any item, if the bill is not there. When you should purchase by the bill, you should have the invoice, particular cash or credit invoice with you, and also sell the same with the bill, so that there should not be any problem for you. The role of the pharmacist in particular society also is very important. When you are in society, you have to take care of your people also, your staff also. We have seen that there are so many COVID patients in this era are there from our community also. There are so many pharmacists, wholesaler and retailers are found corona positive nowadays, because they got interacted with some people they did not know about their positive of COVID. So we should take care in the future also, because the third immunity, when the third immunity will come, we don't know what is going to happen in time to come. So we should think that when the patient is coming, we have to take our utmost care. And government, as you know very well, with the notification, government has provided the notification to provide the medicine up to this COVID situation, delivery at home. So what we should try, and our people are trying. I thank you, all of you, that you are all are trying and delivering the medicine in the country at the home also. So we should continue to deliver the medicine for this COVID era, because the patient is most important for us. So patient counseling is also can be given by phone if the patient is coming to you. So you should take care of yourself. Balanced diet is other thing. That you also should be take balanced diet, and also should communicate to your patient. Food supplement idea also can be given to the patient, and you also adopt, if you have not adopted, some of the people have adopted, thank you very much for them, the digital payment mode that you also can do in this particular scenario. I have seen in Maharashtra, Mumbai, Delhi, there are so many places where the digital payment mode is there, but it should be adopted, because time is very dangerous. You cannot touch the prescription. You should see the prescription from far and give the medicine directly, not to the people. Some I have seen so many chemists, they are giving the medicine in thermocol box and taking the money cash. So we should improve our system for the digitalized payment. I once again thanks Manjari ji and Survivor Sardia ji, Mr. Santosh ji, for making this seminar successful, webinar successful. And I hope that with all these lessons, whatever we have been given to this pharmacists of the country, that will be useful for us. I want to thank all of you, all chemists of the country. And once again, I thank all these professors and other dignitaries who have addressed this seminar. Thank you very much from AIOCD. Thank you.
Thank you, Singalji. Thank you Appa Shinde.
Yeah. Professor Sadhana and Manjari, can we take some questions now? Thank you, Rajiv Shingalji. Thank you,
Thank you.
Shindeji.
Thank you, LCD, for joining. Thank you, Appa.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to all the dignitaries for joining us today. Right, so I think a lot of questions that we have today, especially starting with how will they get their certificate. Now, the first and foremost, how we will proceed. So it will take at least 5 days time to reach you. That's the whole idea. So our Surya team, the local team of Surveyor in all the places, we have a nationwide presence. They will be in contact with you and try to get you the certificate in the next 5 days. Also, what we will do simultaneously is that, of course, we have your registration details. So in case we do not find your details in our database, we will directly try to email the certificate to your registered email ID. One request that suppose by another 10 days, say 29th June, if you are not, if you do not receive a certificate, either through the surveyor local person or through the surveyor email ID, there is an email ID that you see on the screen, which you can drop an email, just a one-line email. But what is important is you need to mention your name just as you want the name to be featured on the certificate. So just a one-line email with your full name will be sufficient, and we will reply to that email with a copy of your certificate. So this is the whole idea about how we will proceed with the certificate. The email ID is right there on the screen. Questions, of course, I think it's been a long session, more than 1.5 hours now already. So first and foremost, what we will do is we will share the entire list of questions with the speakers, and they will try to answer them in the next 2-3 days, how much ever that is possible, of course, since we have already more than 50 questions which have been asked. So I will just take first question, which is for patient counseling, of course, to Dr. Sadhana Sathe. Of course, madam, you talked about epilepsy, but the question that we see very frequently is about the more common chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension.
Correct.
Patients do come to you, come to pharmacists with a kind of a shock for the first time that they have to continue taking these medicines for the entire lifetime. That's what they have been told by the doctor. What can be done at the role of pharmacists to counsel them and kind of tell them why is it important to continue taking this treatment?
See, maintaining the blood glucose level is extremely important, because the more the blood glucose level will produce lot of oxidative damage in their body and will have lot of diabetes related complications later on. And so you have to explain them that maintenance of your blood sugar level is important, and that's the reason taking this medication is also very important. So I think little of what happens exactly if you don't maintain the blood sugar level, explanation of that is very important.
Just adding to what Madam said. Madam, you want to continue?
No. We will, yeah.
They sometimes they don't understand the importance of keeping the timing. So we need to tell them that you need to take the drug same time every day, or whatever, before food 15 minutes or just after breakfast. So that timing,
Yeah.
they just forget.
I just want to add a Manjari to this, because she talked about the timings.
Yeah, that drops down
Particularly
the level.
when you have metformin, it is very important that it is to be taken after the meal.
After food, yeah.
And when you have glibenclamide or insulin, you have to take it before the food.
Yeah.
So if the prescription is such, they should explain it to the patient also. And once the patient understands, I'm sure he complies with. So it's our duty to explain them why.
Yeah. And also, pharmacists can keep the database now with computerization. You have it possible. आप एक database रखो, diabetes के आपके कौन से regular patients है, hypertensive कौन से है. Once in a while, you just send a message कि क्या आप दवाइयाँ आपकी time पे ले रहे हैं, क्या आप dose skip कर रहे हैं. So give the reminders, and that really helps also for your relationship with the patient as well as for his own compliance.
True.
In fact, this is very important what you have suggested, that each pharmacist should ideally keep a database for the chronic disease patients for two reasons. One, he can send a reminder every month so that the patient can come back and take the drug. purchase the drug. And second, of course, it helps in compliance.
Yes.
Second question, Dr. Manjari. Again, 3-4 people have asked this question, Mr. Shyam Sundar, Mr. Mohammed Imran, about, of course, preparing for monsoons. They need more details about uh, like options like OT, ORS, ORS powders or drinks. What can be done? There are a lot of Tetra Pak ORS available now. How do you kind of counsel patients for who are suffering from diarrhea in monsoon?
Yes, so ORS is, as everybody knows, oral rehydration salts. They come as powders, or as you said, come in small pouches, liquid preparations, ready to use. So we need to, I mean, with each product, some set of instructions may vary. So first of all, pharmacist needs to read the instructions on the packet very well and then counsel the patient. Basic counseling will be that the ORS preparation needs to be used within a stipulated time. If they're using the powder and dissolving it in, then they should dissolve it in boiled and cooled water. Boiled and cooled, both are very important aspects, and then use it within 24 hours. And they should not add any additional sugar. I have seen some people have habit of adding additional sugar. Nowadays, whichever ORS comes, it has good flavor and also is sweet. So there is no need to add anything additional. In fact, if we add any additional sugar, especially while giving it to children, that may add up to, that may cause more diarrhea. So it is very important, to keep that, not to do so. So some of these things are important, and also we have to tell patient very important thing, that keep patience. It cannot be just like as you start ORS, immediately theek ho jayega. And whenever ORS we are giving, we should not be making the patient or child swallow whole glass of it.
Correct, yeah.
वो करेंगे तो डायरिया बढ़ेगा. It should be sip by sip. It should be taken little amount at a time, but continuously. The patient needs to be given ORS.
This is very important. Take it very slowly.
Yeah, take it slowly, little bit at a time, not the whole glass. Like उनको compulsion नहीं करो, नहीं तो vomit भी करेंगे और diarrhea भी होगा. And signs of dehydration that we need to know. कि signs of dehydration क्या क्या होते हैं? Dryness of the lips, sunken eyes, and skin fold, and then the patient को चक्कर सी आएगी या cramps आएंगे, leg cramps, weakness लगेगा, and the skin fold, when you lift the skin,
Yeah, just lift the skin.
back in its place, elasticity कम हो जाएगी. So signs of dehydration should be observed, and if it's becoming more serious, immediately IV सलाइन वगैरह देने के लिए डॉक्टर के पास लेके जाना जरूरी है पेशेंट को. I forgot to mention that diarrhea is one of the leading cause of death in India, especially in children below 5 years of age. I think it is the third leading cause of death in children below 5 years of age. So diarrhea ऐसे तो लगता है कि एकदम छोटी सी बीमारी है, but it can be life threatening only because of the dehydration. और उसको treatment है ORS से. Dehydration से हमें क्या करना है? Rehydration. And nothing like ORS. And if ORS is not available, market बंद है, आपके पास दुकान नहीं है, then घर पे we can make it at home also with the sugar and salt and boiled and cooled water. It can be made. The banana, ripe banana, is very good source of potassium. Even that can be given to the patient in case if it is available.
And general lifestyle modifications also they could suggest. I mean, if they have a good relation with the patient, and they should have, meaning eating soft foods or smaller quantities.
Yeah, that will help. And also the diet has to be taken care when there is diarrhea. So only boiled food should be taken. Well cooked food.
No salads, yeah.
Not the raw food when there is stomach upset. So that is also very important.
Thank you so much for the detailed explanation. As I said, a lot of questions, so we will certainly email the entire Excel sheet to both the speakers, like based on your topics, separate out the questions and share it to you so that you can answer on the individual basis. So I'll just request Raja Reddy.
Today being the last day, I would like to thank everyone who have attended. Once again, I reiterate the fact, I would like to thank Vice President IPA, Shri Manjari ji, for helping us to put up the program. And without your help, it wouldn't have been possible. And seriously, we spent more than a month in collaborating with various stakeholders to ensure that the topics what we are going to present should be of interest to you. And based on the overwhelming feedback what we have been receiving, we have decided to continue in a periodic manner, which we will come back with more details.
Sure.
And for today, I would also like to thank Professor Sadhana Sathe for delivering her lecture. Thank you very much, ma'am, for taking out time from your schedule. It's our honor to have an eminent researcher scientist like you along with us. I would like to thank Shri Shindeji, President AIOCD, Shri Rajiv Singhal General Secretary AICOD, for taking time to be with us. On behalf of everyone from the Servier team, our distribution head Santosh is there, our national sales manager Mr. Sanjay Roy Chaudhary. To all of you, I would like to thank once again for sparing last 3 days, 1.5 hours. It's been very, we never imagined that we could have so much of interaction discussing with you. We would definitely like to continue the forum and improvise the forum. So thank you very much for joining. And in case you have any difficulties in accessing your certificates after 29th, as my colleague Sami has shared the email ID, till 29th, if you don't get your certificate, first you reach out to the Servier people, or you look at the email ID ipaserviercourse@gmail.com. So I repeat once again, by 29th, if you don't get the certificate, please reach out to us on email ipaserviercourse@gmail.com. So thank you very much for one and all for joining. Stay safe. The pharmacists, of course, I cannot say you will stay at home like us. You are there outside for us. Please stay in the shops. We will see
at front lines. Yes.
I just want to know how many were there today? How many attendees?
Ma'am, we wouldn't know probably exactly how many are there, but I can tell you as on yesterday, regularly for 2 days, we had close to 4,000 logins.
Oh,
so today also we are expecting the same.
More than that, yes. So
congratulations, Manjari. I mean, I must appreciate the, Herculean task.
It's a great platform, and thank you all, dear pharmacists, for joining all 3 days and attending this webinar. Thank you very much, the team Servier, especially Mr. Dr. Raja Reddy and Mr. Mukadam, for coordinating with us and taking this forward. Thanks AIOCD President today for joining, and Mr. Singhal Secretary for joining today, and all the attendees for their enthusiasm, and keep it up, and we'll be back with one more webinar series very soon. So stay tuned, stay safe, and you're doing a great job, and keep it up. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Great job, really.
Thank you.